Hello and welcome to Jeremy's Garden. I'm Jeremy, and if you haven't done so already, get out, dig in, and feel your worries melt away. Today, I'm going to be discussing this little puppy. It's a little trail cam, and we're going to kind of give it the rundown, if you will. First of all, I guess I'm going to start off with a little unboxing segment and kind of go through everything, and then I'm going to put it through the tests and all that, because of course this should be waterproof. Did it survive? Let's find out. All right, hello and welcome. Jeremy unboxes anything. And today we're going to unbox a package that just arrived via Amazon. All right. Let's see here. What do we got? We got the Syndesmos, the DH-2. Syndesmos DH-2. Now, this is a game camera, I do believe. Yep. And it has 120-degree PIR lens, power lasting 8 months, 30 megapixel, and 4K. I suppose that should say 30 megapixel at 4K. Waterproof, IP65, trigger time, less than 0.2 seconds of trigger time for when it picks something up, plus night vision. Now, according to the Amazon site where this is available at, it supposedly has pretty good reviews. It has quite a lot of reviews, so I don't know. Sometimes it's hard to tell with Amazon reviews, but you know, that's not too bad right there. So yes, wow, they sent 4 batteries. That's a lot of batteries. So let's see here. It looks like we've got it must be the cable to offload it to the computer. Yeah, 4 AA batteries. But hey, you know, if it actually lasts 8 months, that's not too bad. Now what is, oh, this is like a little mounting. Interesting. So, wow, you can actually perma-mount it. It even comes with some little mollies and screws to like put into a wall or something if you were to permanently affix it to a bracket. And then you just screw it on to there. That's pretty slick. Okay. Okay, I was not expecting that, I have to say. But then this here is just sort of your standard strap that you would put like around a tree or something, like you would see them do in movies and what have you. Huh. Okay, so let's see here. Let's open this thing up. And let's see. Kind of get a little better view of it, hopefully. So what is this? It says pull down. Holy moly. Holy moly moly, holy moly. Wow, okay, so they sent 4 AA batteries, but you know, unless I forgot how to count since I've been out of school, that's 8 AA batteries, not 4. So, you know, I'm glad that they sent at least half of the batteries that are required. Yeah, so I guess that means I'm going to have to dig up some batteries before I can fire this thing up. So unfortunately, that means I'm going to have to cut this video short. But before I do, down here, so you can get this. Wow, this is like in a really bad spot. You can't even grab a hold of it, barely. There, holy cow. Yeah, comes with 32 gig micro SD card. Now this is a NETAC U1 rated, 32 gigabyte. That's all that really says on that card, so not much other information. But wow, that is a real pain in the butt to get that in there. You can't get your fingers in there. Wow, that's okay. But yeah, there's a little charger port to offload to your computer, and then here's a little on, setup, and off button. So I guess you can go to a menu for setup, and then you just have it on once you have it set up, and or off. Okay, yeah, so yeah, like I said, I'm gonna have to, unfortunately, I'm gonna have to redo this. That means I'm gonna have to go to the store, because I know for a fact that I just used my last 2 AA batteries. So, all right, well, Syndesmos, as far as everything right now, send all 8 batteries if it takes all 8 batteries. In the meantime, when I come back, I'll let you know. Maybe it will only run on 4 batteries. Maybe the other 4 are back up. So we'll find out. All right. Okay. So I got a couple of screws here. I'm just going to mount this up temporarily. My screw gun. Now I figure this thing out. It does, in fact, only require 4 batteries. You either put them in the top or in the bottom, but not across both, unless you have 8 batteries. So if you want this thing to really be out there a while, you can guarantee some good battery life. Hopefully your SD card is big enough. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and remove the screens. I've already gone through the setup, so it's not a big deal. And I've set it up so that it is going to be taking, actually, before I do that, I'm just going to end up taking a bunch of pictures of myself if I do that. Okay, so try to get all these little remove stickers off so the sensors work. And we get the best quality. Now I have it set at 4K. So, with that said, I'll see what it does. 4K only shoots at 10 frames per second, so we'll see how that goes. But we're gonna try it at the max setting. Let's cut and go move to another location. Okay, so I don't really have a major reason for setting this up right here, except that it'll kind of point down the property, which is kind of cool. So that will be all right. Try to get these tight. I might need a pair of pliers, I don't know. Okay, yeah, I'm gonna have to get some pliers because this bolt, this nut back here doesn't want to stay tight. Fortunately, I have a pair of pliers that I use in my hose. Right here. All right. Well, smile, you're on camera. We'll come back tomorrow and check it out. Okay, it is morning time. I'll go ahead and turn that off and collect the camera. Okay. Awesome. Okay, and right here you can see I have a deer or a doe in my yard. Yep. And you can kind of see it's kind of checking out some of the grass down there, and then it's kind of pops over to the left hand side of the screen, and then it steps a little bit forward, but then all of a sudden it jumps clear back towards the fence coming up here. I'm not sure, it had to have walked around up there a little ways, but you can tell here in a minute it looks like it's going to jump, over the fence, and it's like going, Okay, so I have a few notes here because I do a few little test segments where I was kind of testing some different settings and all that stuff with the camera. And so I kind of need a little bit of a lead-in intro to them because they're only 30-second little shots. And anyways, I'd like to kind of explain what I was doing, and it might take longer than 30 seconds. So I felt I'm just going to enjoy a nice glass of wine on a nice, beautiful afternoon. And basically what we just got done looking at is I did a quick little voiceover of the deer sequences, which were just still images. Now that was the first night that I ran it, and I didn't realize that when I went through the menu settings, I thought for sure that I had set it to both video and pictures. However, I did not. It was on photo mode only. So that's why I didn't get any video of the deer, which is unfortunate. But when I did reset that, I had to, of course, test out some of the video stuff. And so, yeah. Essentially, I'm going to assume that the deer jumped over the fence because there was no pictures of the deer coming back towards the camera. But next up, I'm going to do a little video test of the audio because it does have audio on it, supposedly. So that's what I do in this next sequence. Okay, and as we can tell, the audio, it didn't really pick up my voice. And that's kind of unfortunate. I was actually discussing the segment there right before I was going to do the water test to it, but I saved in that one for a little bit later because it's a little bit longer. So the next test that I'm going to show you is the test where I test out what does 4K video look like at 10 FPS. I wanted to see how the camera actually handles that because, you know, I've seen crappy 4K cameras at 30 FPS that look all jerky and just a lot of stutter. So I wanted to test it out. How is the camera going to handle that video when it renders it down? And that's what we're going to watch next. Okay, as we could see, it's actually pretty impressive as far as how it rendered. I mean, the fluidity of motion of me walking past and back was pretty good. So that was, I'm pretty impressed. So yay, 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 all the way. That, I was a little on the fence about that. And obviously, if I was running or something like that, then it would be stuttering and jerking and all that type of stuff. That's why high speed videography is shot at like 60 frames per second. Because even though the human eye sees at 10 FPS or at 30 FPS, like when people are running and all that, like we automatically filter our software up here in our brain automatically filters out all the grainy, blurred out images from that motion. And we just make it a smooth image in our head. Our brain does that. But when you put it on into camera format, it's just literally going to show it actually how it really looks. So that's why high speed stuff is shot at high frames per second, whereas slower stuff, you can slow down the FPS. But that's a whole can of worms if we wanted to talk about that. So next up, when I set the sensitivity for the sensors all the way to high, I wanted to see how the increase in frequency of what it would perceive as motion. So let's take a little view of that right now. Okay, as we can see, there's a lot of wind motion going on, which was kind of nice that it happened to be a little breezy during the daytime. That did help that sensitivity check. And as you can see, I didn't trigger it. My dog didn't trigger it. No little animals triggered it. It was literally just the motion of the branch of the plant, like blowing right in front of it. 4 feet away. That's what triggered that. So now, once I saw that, when I saw that playback, I was like, So the part where I walk out of the house and then walk down past the camera and then back, was that triggered by me? Did I just happen to walk out at the beginning of that 30-second video file that was triggered by some wind motion right in front of the camera? Was that what happened? Well, after some extra testing, when you set the sensitivity back down and even down to medium, it will actually pick up the motion of me walking out the door when there's no wind. So yes, that has actually picked me up. I can assume very safely with 98% belief assumption that it did in fact pick me up, because twice after that it picked me up walking out the door. And so kudos. So that's actually pretty impressive. There was a thing of me on the other side of the fence in my front yard, and I was trying to see, kind of test how far away it would actually pick me up, and it didn't pick me up way up there. But, of course not. I mean, I just like a head going across my fence up there where the deer jumped over, which is why we didn't see the deer jump. There was no other picture of the deer. It just kind of disappeared after that. So yeah, I can safely assume that it has a very, very good uh, range of pickup. And if you set it real high, it's going to trigger it a lot. So that's something to keep in mind if you happen to know that it's going to be windy out. Like right now, a high sensitivity with no wind would be, you know, fine. But maybe on medium, I might suggest. But next up, we're going to actually get to the sprinklers, and we're going to hit this thing with some water. And as you'll see in this next clip, this is what I'm saying in that earlier clip where I'm standing kind of side off to the camera talking, checking to see how it will pick up my voice, but then also so that I could then play it back. If it picked it up really nice, I mean, it would have worked a nice little flow, but it didn't. But it was me talking about, I have a few little reservations about this next test because I'm going to douse it in water. So simulated rain, of course, sprinkler. So anyways, I explained it in the next clip, so let's just get over to that one. Okay, I'm not going to lie to you. This next test, I'm a little nervous about. Now, this case, one thing I haven't mentioned so far is it actually feels well built. It actually feels pretty sturdy. And being an outside trail cam, it is expected to be rained on and is waterproof-ish. Hopefully, totally waterproof. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and kick it on. And all right, do I have my reservations? Possibly. I have a sprinkler set up in here. I need to water stuff anyways. I'm going to turn it up a little bit higher so that it kind of arcs up over and rains on this box. And I'm probably going to let it run for at least 20 minutes because I want it to get nice and wet. I want it, if you're sitting outside, you know, if you set this up out in the wilderness and it's raining, it's going to get wet. So this, I guess, is the ultimate test. So let's see if we're going to destroy it or if it's going to work. Oh boy. Okay, let's see. Oh yeah. We're getting water coming down here. Okay, I'm getting wet. So, those are This will also be a good test just to see, if it's going crazy because of the raindrops and all that. I did notice, let me zoom back a little bit. I did notice in my test that when this was blowing in the wind a lot, it triggered the camera. So I got a lot of video of just that blowing in the wind. Sensitivity is on medium. Okay, so I'm not going to record all of the 20 minutes. We'll just come back in a little while and check it out. Okay, so in this particular shot, you can see that I am raining simulated rain with the sprinkler on it. And I'm just checking to make sure that it kind of comes up on the camera, which is in a previous clip that you have already saw where it was getting dumped on by the camera that you were looking at. So awesome. Okay, and here all I'm doing is I brought the trail cam inside, and I was going to set up, and I was going to record me opening it up, and then silly me totally forgot to hit the play on the camera. So it's just the trail cam recording me setting up to record that I didn't record. Holy cow, are we back already? I was on my coffee break. So yes, the Syndesmos DH-2 game trail camera. Would I recommend? Oh, what do you think? Leave a comment below. My experience from my little testing, yes, I would. I mean, it feels rugged. It feels rugged. And for being one of the important things about being a game trail camera is that it's waterproof because it's going to be outside. And just these hinges, that pop, click, and how this thing fits together feels nice and solid. And it's a nice tight grip when it closes. And as we saw, I ran sprinkler on it for 20 minutes. I didn't show the whole 20 minutes because who wants to watch 20 minutes of water running on top of a camera? But yeah, so I mean, when I popped it open, not a drop of water inside whatsoever. So that's pretty darn cool. The picture quality, I set everything up to maximum to 4K, and I was a little on the fence about what 10 FPS frames per second would look like as far as motion quality goes. I don't know. I've seen low quality cameras claiming 4K and blah blah blah, and even at 30 FPS they look like crap. And this one actually looks pretty good. Like that one scene where I'm walking down and then I walk back, and it looked pretty darn good. So I'm pretty impressed with that. Yeah, I mean that was the image quality looked good, and at 10 FPS, no big deal. The human eye sees it about like 29.7 or something like that. That's why 30 FPS is kind of a standard, because you're actually seeing, because 30 frames per second is just slightly more than what the human eye actually reads. So, you know, it's a good deal. And, you know, the waterproof thing, that was great. I set everything up super high, like I said. So as far as like the 8-month claim, like it claims here on the power lasting 8 months, well, do I think it could? For 2 days at max settings, uh, for 30-second intervals, and I got, so I put it on high sensitivity, so even just the wafting of the branches and leaves on the trees there was enough to trigger it. So I got a lot of video, a lot of 30-second video at 4K, and you know, it barely touched the battery. I mean, it was, at first I was like a little concerned, but then, you know, after the rest of the 48 hours there, it really didn't go down anymore. So with the right settings, especially if you were only using it for taking photos and not worrying about video, yeah, I mean, I could totally see this being able to last 8 months. I would love to, if I had another one, I'd let it just do it. I'd do an 8-month experiment, but I don't. So this one, I'm going to move around the yard, various places, and uh, see what fun night adventuring creatures I can find in the garden. Because it's always, most of those creatures come out at nighttime. So it would be awesome if maybe I could see one. So, because when I'm out here, they're usually hiding in the dark. So, but anyways, yeah, I mean, pretty darn decent. I mean, it's got sensor this way, sensor that way, sensor this way, and then the camera here, but then it's also got the infrared lighting up here, stuff. It's got a, this little hole down here is actually, I guess, supposedly the temperature thing, I guess. So, that's how it picks up the temperature, which is kind of a cool deal. And it seems pretty accurate. I was looking at the, you know, the temperatures for the lows and all that, and it seems accurate. So that's good. The sound quality. Now, we're not shooting the videos with this for the sound. Um, the microphone, when you're talking, it doesn't actually really pick up. It's barely, very barely audible as far as sound goes in that regard, which is weird because other sounds that seem to pick up just fine, but the voice, when somebody's talking, is barely audible. So I'm not quite sure why that is. But, you know, is that a negative thing? No. I mean, we're not vlogging with this thing. We're just capturing, hopefully, some lovely little night critters in the garden. And perfect. And, you know, if you're a hunter or whatever, or just a nature person trying to check things out, uh, animals don't talk anyway, so. Hmm. Or do they? All right. No, definitely. Yes, I recommend it. It does have a little plug here. It doesn't come with a power source, but you could buy a plug to permanently power this unit if you had it permanently fixed somewhere around your yard and were able to get power to it. Now, obviously, you're going to want to have it somewhat slightly more protected because of rain and electricity. However, it's an option, and that's pretty cool. So, yeah. Syndesmos. Good camera. Recommend. There's some show note links that goes to an Amazon place to purchase this item, and I'm not even going to bother with the price. It's reasonable. It's a reasonable price, $50 range, but I won't say exactly how much because prices change all the time. So, anyways, yeah, thanks for watching. Click like, hit subscribe. If you have some feedback about this camera, go ahead and leave it. Yeah. I don't know. There's a diesel truck in the background, so it's probably not coming out on the microphone, but